Happy Tuesday. It's Cluster Fun. Danny Cunningham, Judd Zulgad with you today. Going to be talking about the Minnesota Twins and just how they continue to hit dingers. Going to talk about the NBA Finals coming up and Giannis Antetokounmpo not taking part in them. But I want to start with the Twins because I think that's what's most important right now. And I do have a bit of a conundrum here. So I was at home this weekend in Cleveland. I watched Saturday's game. They beat Chicago 8-1 on Saturday, I believe. Saturday or Sunday, one of the 2 days.
Saturday.
And
right.
They only hit one home run, and I kind of came away disappointed. Like, they won. It was a blowout. There was a lot of offense.
Adrianza, too.
Adrianza hit
like,
a home run. It was a 3-run home run in the 8th inning, I think it was. But I came away disappointed that I only saw one home run. Like, I expect every time that I watch this team to see 6 or 7 bombs.
See, I don't think that's a conundrum. I think that's a very a plausible thing.
Am I wrong for coming away disappointed after a blowout win like that?
No, because I decided that White Sox series, and I thought the White Sox, now they do have some guys out, but they have some decent young players. I thought that they were coming along. Now, they still might be good eventually, but I finally just decided by Sunday, this was, Danny Cunningham, a name your score series.
Yeah.
So, like, if you're a Twins fan, I want 11-1. Okay, no problem. I want 8-2. Okay, no problem. So I think that your dilemma there was shared by many who by late in the game Saturday are like, whoa, the Twins are ahead, but this is no fun.
Yeah.
Where are, as Rosario said, the bombas?
It's only fun when they're hitting home runs. Like, they can hit all the doubles they want. I really don't care. I'm not a huge fan of doubles. I want to see long ball. I want to see the ball leave the yard.
Now, for a guy who spent the weekend at Target Field, though, I will say this. The home runs are the star.
Yeah.
So you're right. The home runs are the sexy, oh my gosh, this is great. But this team defensively, at least against the White Sox pitching-wise, this team does so many things well. This is a really good baseball team.
They do things well, but the thing they do better than anything
is home runs.
Hit home runs.
I know.
They only hit one on Saturday.
Now, here's what. Now, when you're in the press box and the windows are open, though, and I realized this, I think, by early in the game Saturday. Do you know what impresses me the most, and if I was an opposing team would intimidate me? It's not just the home runs, it's the contact. This might be the loudest contact Twins team I've ever seen. And I'm talking about line drive outs. I'm talking about outs. But this team,
how about the out last night that nearly ended Jeremy Jefferson, the Brewers?
That was a scary moment.
Yeah.
And he's very, very fortunate. But that's how hard this team consistently hits the ball. And some of them go over the fence. Some of them go down the line. Some of them end up in gloves. But the loud contact that this team makes, if I was an opposing team, that's the thing where I would come away being like, holy cow, they don't basically get cheated.
Yeah, and that's exactly what you want to see out of your baseball team. But still, I was disappointed in the lack of
All right,
runs.
so you just came back from Cleveland.
Yes. The baseball team,
how bad are they?
They're so bad.
I suggested last night that aside from the Twins, the American League Central should offer up a relegation pool to the rest of that division. The division's awful. The White Sox, I thought the White Sox were not really competitive, but closer.
But
like
a
team
that could win 75 games.
Somebody here's the problem I see if you are the rest of the teams in the division. Ordinarily, you would get a team that if the Twins went into, let's say, a 2-week slump, might be sort of an outside threat, right? Oh, here comes Cleveland. Here comes. I don't see it.
Well, I do think that is a legitimate worry for the Twins. Not right now. You love to have a large divisional lead right now, and of course you want to solidify yourself in the playoffs, and anything can happen once you get there. But I do think that part of the issue that could arise in September is they're not going to be playing for anything down the stretch. And then it's hard to flip that switch back on once you get into the playoffs. That's something that if you are a Twins fan,
you're right.
You would like to see the Indians get it together.
It's too easy.
Not because you don't want the Twins to win the division, but you don't want this team to not be playing for anything in September, because once the playoffs come around, the level of intensity gets ratcheted up 3, 4, 5 notches, and if you're a couple notches below because you're not playing for anything, that's cause for concern.
And we saw that last night because you replaced the dreadful White Sox with the Brewers. That was a fun baseball game.
Yeah.
And the Brewers came back, and that's a nice win. But that is what we saw last night. So when we talk about, the Twins, should think about improving, getting one more starting pitcher or the bullpen, and fans are like, oh, look at how good they're doing. Who cares? Well, yeah, that's right. If you're playing Kansas City, Detroit, Chicago, those teams, you're fine. But what we saw last night was very indicative of why this team probably has to look for some help, because that Brewers team is a quality team.
Yes.
And Taylor Rogers has done a very nice job, but you just need more bullpen depth, and that's a team that's going to hang in there. You know, you could blow out the White Sox and pick your score 10-1. You're not going to do that to a team like the Brewers ordinarily.
And they've got a very strong lineup, too. I know Orlando Arcia kind of did a lot of damage last night. He's not really thought of as someone in that lineup that typically can do damage. You're looking at guys like Lorenzo Cain and Christian Yelich and Mike Moustakas and Yasmani Grandal. They've got a ton of big bats in that lineup, but they're just like the Twins. They can cause harm from anywhere.
Oh, yeah, they're good. And, by the way, Hader, man, does he throw smoke.
Yeah,
but
he's
the type of guy that scares you, because in a playoff or World Series situation, you get to him, you're just trying to scratch out hits. I mean, you feel fortunate to get hits.
He's kind of the next guy along the lines of what Aroldis Chapman once was, what Andrew Miller once was. If you remember the playoffs in 2016, how the Cubs used Chapman and how the Indians used Miller, and that's essentially what Josh Hader is. And the way the Brewers manage him is really impressive.
These are bullpens now.
Yeah.
Like this is why, the Twins can bring in their guys, and some of them can be fine, and that's great. But the construction of that Brewers bullpen and how it ends, that's bullpens in 2019, and that's where you say to yourself, it would be really nice to get a little bit more of a cushion in your bullpen to have something that might not be that good, but is at least approaching that.
And they're even without their closer. Corey Knebel had to have Tommy John surgery, so they're even further down than what they should be, but they're still pretty good.
Absolutely.
And then other thing I wanted to get to today, NBA Finals are set. We've got the Warriors and the Raptors. The Milwaukee Bucks fell to the Toronto Raptors in 6 games. They went up 2-0 in the series, then dropped 4 straight to get eliminated. Giannis Antetokounmpo, pretty underwhelming for someone that's going to most likely win the NBA MVP. Really did not have a good series against Toronto when the lights were the brightest for him.
This reminds me, as a hockey fan, of early Gretzky. Because the Islanders at that time, I believe they won 4 consecutive cups before Gretzky and the Oilers stopped that streak and went on their own streak, I think, of 4. But, there was always that. For great players, there usually seems to be that one thing, the lights get bright, and it's just tough. You're going against good teams, and your team basically looks at you and is like, okay, do what you do. Well, in January, you could do that. But in watching him, I really was reminded of what Gretzky went through, which is not to say that he can't eventually be absolutely fine and win championships and be a great player, but there is that final big step, and it's not just a step; it's like, woo, dude.
Well, let me ask you this about Gretzky: how many times did he fail in the playoffs before he finally got to the finals?
I think they lost. Well, they got to the finals early. I think I think they lost a cup or 2, at least one though, to New York, which was a dynasty and a really good team, and was a really tough team, and had veteran players. But this was a series that you watched Giannis play, and you just said to yourself, you could sort of see it, and it wasn't. It's funny because the commentators on TNT were saying, well, he's got to do this, and well, yeah, ideally he does, but a lot of guys can't. And also, Danny, Kawhi, man, wow.
What Kawhi did, not only at the offensive end, but Kawhi sapped Giannis' confidence.
Oh, yeah.
Because Giannis was able to do whatever he wanted throughout the course of the regular season, against Boston in the second round, against Detroit in the first round, and then Kawhi and Toronto just sapped his confidence. He never really had the ability to shoot, but he got to by the end of that series, he was scared to go to the rim, because if he got fouled, he was terrified of shooting free throws because it had gotten so bad. And that was the craziest thing about that series to me.
Who is Kawhi?
In terms of
is he Duncan? He seems, Duncan was low key, but, and I mean this as a complete compliment, Kawhi seems like an assassin.
Kawhi is just cold-blooded.
Like Duncan, you looked and said, okay, he's just a really low key guy. Kawhi, I look in those eyes, and I'm not sure I see a low-key guy. I don't know what I see, but he is a sports assassin.
It's really
Because it's like,
impressive.
I don't know what to make of him as a person.
One of my favorite things from that series was not just the dunk on Giannis in Game 6 that put them up, and I do want to say I am really happy for Toronto and their fans, especially after the last 3 postseasons. They've gone 2-12 against the Cavs and LeBron, and had some really, really good teams. And
poor Dwayne Casey gets blown out, and it works.
After winning Coach of the Year, he gets blown out. They trade their franchise player for Kawhi Leonard, and now they're in the finals. And I applaud that. Like, that's it. I think that they did some really good things there, but it was impressive to see some of the things that Kawhi did defensively. It's so amazing how good he is. And one of my favorite things is when there's a loose ball, instead of like having to scoop it up like a normal human, he can just reach down and snatch it. It's incredible. And did you see the one where he caught a pass with one hand along the baseline, and as he caught it, he palmed the ball. So he did the fake throw with the ball still attached to his hand and got the other defender to jet to the corner, because it's just not something humans are supposed to be able to do.
That's great. And the amazing thing is now the Raptors, for the first time in franchise history, are going to the NBA Finals, and they've been around since, what, 94? Is that correct?
Yes, 95.
Okay. The Toronto Maple Leafs, the king of the Toronto market, right? They have not won or been to a Stanley Cup final since 1967.
They are the Cleveland Browns of
How
the
about
NHL.
that? I liken them to the Cubs, because they used to be the Browns, where they were horribly run, and they're actually well run now. But I liken them to the Cubs, because if you think about it, for a hockey market like that, not to have been to the final since '67 is Cubs-like.
Yeah, it absolutely is.
But the Raptors are a great story, and I'm curious to see how much this series now gets watched in the States, because you obviously have a non-U.S. market for ESPN, ABC's purposes. But, Golden State's a great story still, and I think this Toronto story is a hell of a story.
It's a hell of a story, but it's always going to bring us back to this, at least in this era, is no LeBron, and that's going to be something that affects the viewership.
As a basketball fan, truthfully, are you looking forward to this NBA Finals more or July 1st more?
I'm looking that's a really tough question. Probably July 1st, because I think there's more variance. And I think that's when the league can change. Like, you can see there will be moves made on July 1st or 2nd or 3rd or whenever these guys make their decisions.
Sure.
But July 1st, actually now it's June 30th now.
Oh, okay.
It's 5 o'clock Central Time on
July
June
1st
30th.
sounds more fun.
You're right, but they're making it into a made-for-TV type thing.
Good for them. That's
so
very smart.
Very smart. Money. They'll be making more money off this.
Yes.
But the league will change, and that's a day that we'll feel the effects of for years and years and years to come. So, and you can't guarantee that out of the finals. I think we're kind of guaranteed that on June 30th.
Best bet Kawhi ends up where right now?
I would say the Clippers. I'm not confident in it. I think it's Clippers or Toronto. Yes, well, I think it's the Clippers or Toronto.
Yeah, wow. Who ends up with LeBron in Los Angeles with the Lakers? Jimmy?
If I had to guess, your friend Jimmy Butler.
That could be a lot of fun.
It could be explosive.
Your league is never boring, man. I will give you that. Your league. I love my sport more, but your league is never boring.
Nope, it is the best off the court product around, Judd.
Some more bombas tonight?
I hope so. I need Christian Yelich to hit some too.
That's because you're on your little team that we've got for
my home run derby team.
Chris Davis, my guy, IL right now.
Christian Yelich.
He was trying to play left field in Pittsburgh because they didn't have the DH. He crashed into the wall there, the side wall there. He hurt his bleeping knee, and now I'm missing Chris Davis.
That's terrible, man.
I need a replacement for him.
No, you don't get a replacement.
I know I don't.
You don't. I had to deal with Lindor on the IL for the first three weeks.
Fraud.
So?
I'm just saying, I did not know that my guy was going to get hurt when he was forced to play in the field, which he's not capable of doing.
Whatever. Twins play the Brewers tonight. Let's just hope for some home runs so everyone's happy. We'll be back with Cluster Fun tomorrow at 11.